everyone. Welcome to our second annual holiday marathon for charity thing that I'm doing again. So good to already see a couple folks. Hello, Morning Wind. Hello, Winter Vespers. I really appreciate you being here to help kick this off. I know last year you were here the whole 9 yards, so I'm always thankful whenever I get to see you in the chat. Thank you for being here. Let's see. How's everything looking and sounding? I was a little rushed setting things up this morning. As it turns out, so I did my normal, shopping run yesterday, picked up all the ingredients I thought I'd need, and there were like 3 things that I couldn't find. So I figured, okay, no worries. Lori has an appointment, at noon, but that's fine. I can go out before then, find the last 3 things I need. There are tons of grocery stores around here. I went to 3 grocery stores this morning and found 2 of the things I needed. So, but I think we're going to be fine. I think I can, one of the things was just a different variety of cinnamon sticks. So, we should be okay. Morning Wind says that everything looks good, and she also says, happy Wednesday Cookie Day. Yes, hello, thank you. Happy Cookie Day to you too. As usual, the first part of this marathon stream is going to be me baking holiday cookies, just because it's there's a story why that happened, but it's a little bit long. Maybe I'll get into it in a bit. But yep, this is my chance to at least start my holiday baking. I'm a little behind this year. Normally I'd have things done by now, but I wanted to give myself some options on things to make today. I'm not going to repeat anything from last year, hopefully, unless I missed something that I did. And just one note here before we really get going. This is a holiday stream. It's non-denominational. It's, inclusive of everyone, no matter what your traditions are. Even if you don't have any at all, you're included and welcome and part of the family. The way I was raised in a family that celebrated Christmas every year. So I may slip up and say, Christmas cookies or something like that. That is not to be in any way exclusionary. It's just how I was raised, and I'm also trying to share some of the traditions of my family with all of you, and that, the traditions and recipes and all of that. So if I slip up, know that it's not on purpose. Please correct me, actually, and I apologize in advance because I know I'm going to do it. Let's see. Oh, Ska is here too. Hello, Ska. Glad to see you. I'm glad you could make it. Let's see. All right, so let's get going. I'm going to start with one of the easy. So my sort of initial thought for today is that I'm going to do some cinnamon diamonds because they're pretty straightforward. They're pretty easy. And then I'm going to do butter crunching, which are probably the most complex, but kind of the coolest of all of them. And then depending on how long that takes, I'll make, I want to get the almond lace, actually I don't want to get the almond lace cookies in there, and you'll see why when I get to them. But I also have walnut crescents, which are sort of like a variant on Russian tea cakes. So yeah. So let's start off with the cinnamon diamonds. And what I'm going to need for that is, all right, I do need to get the eggs out, which I did not do. I did get some butter out already. So, I should probably tell you a little bit about this. This is one of the recipes. Actually, I should do a full introduction of this. The reason why I bake a bunch of different kinds of cookies every year is because that's what my mom used to do. She used to do literally a dozen different kinds of cookies every year. And it was just, they were always around. We had, lots of guests. She took them to her garden club meetings. She took them to family gatherings. She took them everywhere. And if someone dropped by, and also she had 2 growing kids, so we went through them pretty fast. One year, I asked her for the recipes for all the Christmas cookies, and she sent me a file with like 3 pages worth of the cookies, and I have gotten a couple more from her over the years. This is one of the ones that's in that original set. It's an one we've had since I was little. I don't even remember when it was introduced into the mix. Um, and it's one I make every year. Because it's, like I said, relatively easy and straightforward. Everyone likes them well enough. They're I won't say they're anyone's real favorites, but they're one that everyone likes, and always grabs a couple of them off the plate. Um, so I make them every year. They're good. First thing we're going to do is preheat the oven to 350. And let's see. We want to cream together the butter or margarine and brown sugar until light. Oh, so actually, let me move this to here. And you will see that I'm not putting up recipes for any of these because they all have more than will fit in one of those little squares that I put up there. And also, I ran out of time. But because it's baking, it's a lot more complex than, say, a quick snack thing or, a cocktail or something like that. So unfortunately, if you want the recipes, you're going to actually have to follow along and pay attention and take notes. Also, hello, Repentant Imp, and hello, Azure Dragon. Nice to see both of you. Thank you both so much for joining us. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention on this whole thing. Hopefully, if you're watching on Twitch, you should see a new charity donation box there. Today, we are going to be raising money for Rainbow Railroad. I'll get to some of the other things in a minute, but let me tell you a bit about this charity. The gist of it is they are an organization that helps queer and trans and all LGBTQIA plus people move from countries that aren't safe to countries that are, or at least safer. And make your own jokes about how we're going to need them to get folks out of the South sometime soon. But they get people out of places where trans folks will be killed for just being trans, or you could be murdered for, holding your wife's hand as you walk, or not even wife, because they wouldn't let you get married, that kind of thing. So it's really important work they're doing. Really, really valuable. And like I say, it's just getting more and more important and more necessary as the world gets more and more awful. So, like I say, if you see the charity donation box down in the corner, it should be right next to where you would see whispers and donate bits and things like that. Anything you donate there goes straight to the charity. It passes right through Twitch. Twitch does not take any money off the top, so that is the best way to do it. And yes, you might notice it's in Canadian dollars. The reason for that is there were 2 options. There's the US option and the Canadian option. They have offices in both places. And when you click the link for the website for the US one, it goes to basically a 404 page, and the Canadian one doesn't. Now, the Canadian one, I think, is for, their page is for both. Just that no one updated it. But just to be on the safe side, to make sure donations go where they're supposed to, I use the Canadian one. That's also why you'll see our goal is 135 Canadian dollars, which is actually $100 in the US. And no donations yet. But so yes, it's $1.35 Canadian is $1 American. And by the way, also any normal bits and subs and all of that is going to go to me, but I'll donate that right away. So all money coming in today goes to the charity. None of it goes to me for a change. But the best way to do it is to give it to through that charity app. There should be a thing at the top somewhere on the screen that says how much we've raised and all of that. So, and if you donate, you'll see a big explosion saying someone donated. So let's see. That's that. So yes, I think that's it. If anyone has any questions on that, let me know, because I feel like I missed something, but I've been kind of... I mean, this is at the beginning of the stream. Wait till we get to the end. All right. So, into the Cuisinart. Back to the cinnamon diamonds. We are going to put a cup of butter into the Cuisinart. And let me get my cutting board here. Not that we really need it, but all right. Let's see, anything else? Everyone saying hi to everyone. That's fantastic. How is everyone doing? How are your ovens preheated? How's everyone's holiday prep going? I know Azure Dragon, unfortunately she can't give a link, and I'm going to be about to have my hands covered in butter, but I know that she is doing a holiday cat calendar, or not a holiday, but a cat calendar Kickstarter with all of her own art in it. She does that every year, and they're always spectacular. So if you want to give a plug for that, Azure Dragon, please do. Let them know at least the search terms they can use, things like that, to find your Kickstarter. Or if you can just, unfortunately the way the things are set up, it won't let you just put a link in. I'd have to do that, or a mod would, and unfortunately I think Lori is the only mod right now. Unless someone wants to be promoted to mod. Alright, so... Oh, Repentant Imp just donated. Thank you very much. That is a very generous donation. I really appreciate it. And Azure Dragon says that the calendar is funded and has a few left in her shop. Look up Karen Luke, L-U-K, illustration, and then click the shop link there. So, thank you. I really appreciate it. Oh, all right. I clearly missed something. Something about test dinners. Why did that not... Winter Vespers does say that she loves my apron. Thank you. It is... I'll tell you more about it in a second. Winter Vespers says we'll probably have several test dinners for the holidays because science. Okay. And you're very welcome for the shout out, Azure Dragon. Let's see. Oh, Repentant says that she didn't know it wasn't anonymous, but we're welcome and glad to help. I'm sorry, I didn't know if there was a way to make it anonymous or not. I guess if you do want to make it anonymous, you can just use the normal anonymous donations, but then Twitch will take a cut. But I think that it's, I know a lot of people are very, want to be very private and personal. I think that people should be rewarded for being generous, especially, it should be called out and applauded. There's not enough of it going on in the world these days. Also, if you heard some noise in the background, that would be Lori coming home from an appointment. Anyway, so again, thank you. We are off to a roaring start. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to tell you. There is a bit of incentive on these streams. The first... For every $100 that gets donated, I will add a bonus cocktail to the stream today. And I'm going to do a maximum of 5 because I can't drink like I used to. And there are some mocktails in there. But if we get to $100... All right, so the schedule for today is I'm going to do cookie baking until 6 o'clock, which is our normal start time. And then... at 6, I will do the normal show, and then after that, I will I basically will add any bonus cocktails in there. And I might sneak some through the day, especially if they're the non-alcoholic ones. Because, people who donate the money should see it early on. It's, if they have to leave, let me know and I'll pause and do a drink. So normal show. So a drink, a snack, and another drink. And then bonus cocktails. And like I say, I've got 7 to choose from, 2 of which are non-alcoholic. And we'll go from there. By the way, Lori, people are saying hi to you. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce this, but it looks like Datdur. Welcome. Thank you very much for following. I very much appreciate it. Lori is here. She can say hi. And now she's gone.
My lunch fellows.
Apparently I didn't, according to Datdur, I nailed it. Dat right Dur. Nice. I love it. All right. So, I've added a cup of butter there. I'm going to add now a cup of brown sugar. And, I was going to tell you about this apron. So, as folks may or may not know, I did not come out as trans until I was, 47? But I was a housewife long before that, and I've always done a lot of cooking and, housework and that kind of stuff. So I've always needed an apron. Well, because I had to pretend to be a guy, I always had a just plain black apron. It's still over there. It's my apron for guests or for Lori when I'm using this one. By the way, a cup of brown sugar. Always remember to pack down your brown sugar until you can't pack it anymore, because that's how you're supposed to measure brown sugar. Anyway, so I think it was the year after I came out, or it may have been the year after that, I went looking for, actually no, it was pretty much immediate. I went looking for a more femme apron to wear, because of course I did. And someone, I don't remember who, it actually might have been Repentant Nip now I think about it, pointed me to this site. It may actually, honestly, I don't remember who it was. And I wish I could get around to where the tag is on it to tell you the brand. But they had all these fantastic ones. This is the pattern I liked best. I'll show the apron here. It's got a pocket here, an old bow and everything. And the bow helps you find where the pocket is. Wash is nice. I love this thing. All right, so we are going to cream together the butter and the sugar, which means make it go until you can't tell the two apart. And I'm going to get out spatula. Thank you. Repentant says it's pretty, and I say thank you to that. I was actually, I clarify that especially because I was just going through some of the old shows for something that, let's see, I can't really talk about it, but basically a friend's server, Discord server, and Twitch channel, they're doing a 12-day holiday special thing, 12 days of Advent or what have you. And I contributed a bunch of drink recipes, nothing you haven't already seen on the show. And so, but to get the links to the videos where those things are, I had to go through all of them. And one of them was from the very first episode, and I was reminded that I had completely forgotten that chat wasn't being recorded, so all of the conversation was very one-sided and very difficult to follow. A couple of them were actually from last year's Christmas stream, which reminded me that I practically had a nervous breakdown at the end of that one, so made me a little more nervous for this. Let's see. So, more first-time chats. Let's see. Samuel 1W088 or 098. Hello. How are you doing? Hello. Welcome. Thank you for coming. We're doing pretty well. We just got started. I'm making cinnamon diamonds first of all. Old family recipe. I have no idea where my mom got it. Let's see. Morning Wind says, I love the little frill on your apron. It's adorable. Thank you. Datdur says, I have a few cute aprons, but honestly, black ones are the way to go. Stains are a pain to get out. Yes, I do agree with that, and I was very dubious about getting a white one at first, but so far I've kept it clean enough. And I, knock on wood. Let's be honest, knock on wood for that one. Anyway, so yeah, no, I don't know. It was, for those of you who are not trans, and actually I'm not sure if it's a universal experience, but from what I can tell it is, when trans folks, especially trans ladies, first come out, there are like a dozen outfits we've always wanted all of our life, and we get them. And it doesn't matter how they look on us. I've got some dresses in there that I would probably never wear in public. Actually, there's one I thought I'd never wear in public, but I ended up wearing it and recording something with it the other day. It's from a site called Kawaii Machine, which unfortunately that store doesn't exist anymore. And that's actually something I should mention. But anyway, I always wanted to have a cute frilly apron, so I got one. I don't know if that's universal, but OxyClean is your friend. Billy says, Datdur. Billy Mays was a wise man. Nice. Thus far, I've just gotten away with Tide and bleach. So, again, knock on wood. So, let's see. All right, so we've got our butter and brown sugar creamed until light, it says. Beat in an egg yolk and the vanilla. So it's going to ask for one egg separated. And I guess, we're going to need this egg white later. Winter Vespers says 100% bought all the things I wanted but never had. Santa finally brought my dolls too. Oh, that's fantastic, Winter Vespers. Scott says, yeah, dolls. Samuel 1W098 says, okay, I want some suggestions. I cook, but only spicy foods, but I can't bake. So, yes. The suggestion I'm going to give, and I don't have it with me right now, I'll go get it in a minute. If you can find a copy of the 1963 edition of the Betty Crocker cookie book, and that sounds obscure, but they came out with a reprint of it a few years ago. All right, just a second here. Should be focusing while separating an egg. It is literally the book I learned to cook on. I am, by the way, hardly an expert baker. If Ogre shows up later, he literally was a professional baker. So he's got better tips. Other than that, the recommendation I have is to buy a scale. Because cooking is an art, baking is a science. Baking is all about getting things as precise as possible. If you're off by just a little bit, it can throw things off. I don't know if you've seen the charts that show a cookie that was baked with a little too much butter or a little too much flour or a little too much, and you can adjust things that way. But literally buying a scale and having recipes that let you measure things by the gram or by the ounce or whatever. Grams are best. Um, and so that's my big recommendation is get a kitchen scale if you don't already have one. A lot of my basically I use recipes for everything because I do not have the memory to remember all the little tips and tricks and things. I can't remember how to make the same thing from day to day without a recipe. But any skills I have on that, not only were being raised by a literal 50s housewife, but also because I worked in the lab for over 2 decades. So I've got a lot of lab skills that apply. And like I say, that's what baking is science. So I'm sorry, don't have, if I think of any more tips as we go along, I will try and pass them along. All right, let's see. Morning Wind agreed on the Yay Dolls. That Durst asks, you can read a scanned version of most old Betty Crocker cookbooks on Open Library for free. Words of advice from a poor... yes, I that would be fantastic. I do find that as you can see, I've got... Well, here, let me show you here. I do have stacks of things printed out. Maybe that's just because I'm an old, but I do like to have something to look at. I don't like to have maybe my screens are just the wrong size, but if you can get things digitally and you're comfortable doing that, and you can always print them out too, take a screenshot or what have you. So all right, back to this. So that's our 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 egg yolk, and now we are also adding in a half teaspoon of vanilla. All right. Scott says, neat. Thank you, Dedder. All right. Oh, and Twit. Thank you for following. Twit does say, nothing bad happens if you spill milk on a printout. That is why. Those are also wise words. Let's see. Where do I have my bill over here? By the way, I'm going to be searching for ingredients all day because I've got them out where I could find them easily, which means they're not in the normal spots. All right, so half teaspoon of vanilla. All right. And again, for those who just have been joining us, first of all, thank you. I really appreciate it. This is fantastic. I'm so grateful you could be here. Second, let's see, I added those. I'm supposed to stir them. Let's see. Yeah, beat in those. Okay. We are raising money today. If you see the little donation box next to where you normally donate bits or subscribe or that sort of thing, we are raising money for the Rainbow Railroad. It is a charity that helps LGBTQIA plus folks get out of countries where it is not safe and gets them to countries that are at least safer. It is an incredible organization. It really deserves our money and support this time of year. I apologize that the donations are in Canadian dollars, but I told that story already. I'll tell it again in another hour or so. Let's see. Samuel. I apologize, Samuel W098. I mind if I just call you Samuel for the stream? They say, actually, I'm a student and don't have a very big kitchen, but in a few days I'll visit my parents, and my mom has a very big kitchen and want to make some dishes for them. That also, I'm so excited. That is fantastic. Yes, it's always great to take advantage of a nice big kitchen. I'm not sure how well you can tell here, but our kitchen from counter to counter is about 5 feet wide, and the whole thing is maybe 10 feet long. So yeah, It's really well designed. It's one thing I love is this whole counter here is just one unbroken surface. They moved the sink to the end, so it's really well laid out, but it is still tiny. There's, I am limited in what I can have here, and not just because I have a ton of plants over here. All right, let's see, where was I? Okay. All right, so let's see. Netdor says, your kitchen makes my kitchen look like a shoebox. Wow, I have had those kitchens in the past. My first apartment was 10 by 18. I think it was a hallway that they converted into an apartment. And the entire kitchen was basically half a stove, half a refrigerator, and a counter like this. So you have my sympathy. My wish to you is that the constraints inspire creativity. But otherwise, many sympathies to you. All right. So we are going to now add flour and cinnamon. We need 2 cups of flour and some cinnamon there. Now, I will say that it asks for me to sift the flour, which is something I never do. And I feel somewhere inside me that makes me a bad person, but life is too short, in my opinion. Sorry. I keep the flour inside these plastic bags inside my canister here, but of course it always gets just on the outside and gets everywhere. So, but it does mean you can always put in a new bag and it's clean. So this is what's called the dipping method of measuring. Basically dip it in, level it off, call it good. All right, so I'm going to add the first cup of flour. And now I'm going to add the cinnamon. Let's see, so 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon. One thing I will say about ground cinnamon, or using cinnamon in baking, don't worry about getting fresh grated cinnamon. It's not worth it. All of the things that you're going to be getting by fresh grating it will basically bake out of it. So, all right. Samuel says, I have a dorm, but I like to cook so much, I smuggled some stoves and a pan in. Good for you. First of all, I don't know how you identify or anything like that, but be gay, do crime. Second, I completely understand. Yes, I did something similar when I was back in college. Oh, those many years ago. All right. So I will say and I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here because I put that in the way. Basically, measured out some cinnamon, and to level it off, I'm just going to use the cap from the bottle. And then, did I get that right? Yeah. You want to make sure the cap is flat when you do that, because otherwise it will not even things out. All right, so that is a teaspoon of cinnamon for the cinnamon diamonds. And we will add in another cup of flour. One of the reasons why I recommended that cookie book, other than just literally it's how I learned to cook when I was very, very small, is that cookies tend to be a lot more forgiving than some other baked goods. I mean, even if you really mess up a cookie, someone's probably going to eat it. But if you really mess up bread, it can be a, FEMA cleanup site. It can be pretty bad. Let's see. Okay. So that is our. I'm supposed to stir this into the cream mixture. Again, life's too short. I'm just going to use the Cuisinart. I think most of these recipes were actually written before Cuisinarts existed, which food processors, what I should be saying, we had a Cuisinart growing up. It became like Kleenex. It's not a facial tissue, it's Kleenex. So all food processors are Cuisinarts to me. Samuel says, I am straight, but my aunt is trans, and my God, she makes delicious cookies. Good for her. Good. And by the way, like I say, I can use the term housewife now, but I was a homemaker for years before I came out. Being a homemaker should not be a gendered thing. When I was still presenting as male, I got a lot of dirty looks, like I was taking advantage of Lori. Well, let's put it this way. Every masculine presenting person said, or thought that I was taking advantage of her. Every femme presenting person was like, how can I get a housewife too? I want one of those. So, but again, that was back in the early 2000s. So,
I'd also like to add.
And this is Lori, by the way, for those.
Hello. I'd also like to add that my first therapist thought that Dana was taking incredible advantage of me by having me go to work, and she thought that I handled all of the homemaking responsibilities as well. And I was like, no, that's why Dana doesn't work. She works in the house. Anyway.
Yep. So, and let me tell you, being a homemaker is the hardest job I've ever had because you never leave work. So that is a piece of advice I'm going to give any prospective homemakers out there is always make sure you take a day off. Even if you put it in writing, make sure your spouse knows it, but make sure you have at least one day off a week that is inviolate, that you only take care of your own needs. That is the best piece of advice I have. Second only to, you only have to clean what they can see. In terms of houses, not in terms of hygiene. All right, so let me move all this down out of the way. So we are going to press this out into a ungreased jelly roll pan. It says a 15.5 by 10.5 by 1 inch baking pan. And let's see. Let's actually measure this because it's been a while since, and like I say, I have no memory. So this is actually 17.5 by 12.5. So it is bigger than they're asking for. It is the closest thing I've got though. So it's not going to fill this entirely. We're just gonna make do. But the key is ungreased, so we don't worry about putting any oil or butter or anything like that in there. All right. All right. Let's see. Scott says housewife with a smile. Yeah, so like I say, I started being a homemaker back when I was still presenting male. And so, it's kind of beat into my head a little bit that I should say homemaker. And to be honest, that is more accurate because there are homemakers of every gender. On the other hand, like I say, my mom was a housewife, and I choose that term deliberately there. That was just the era that she was from. She was, I'm not going to give her exact age when she passed away, but she, is from an era where it was housewives, and that's what I learned. I am old, as I've mentioned a few times. So I tend to use the two interchangeably. Also because, I went all those years not being able to be a housewife. Now I kind of want to be one. So even though, homemaker is more accurate, I guess my point with all of this is be who you want to be. If you want to be a homemaker, don't let your gender hold you back from that. honestly, I think things started getting much worse in the world when being a homemaker was no longer economically viable. Because it does, takes away one of the incomes in the family. So it's not as easy to do as it used to be. All right, so all I'm doing is I'm using my hands to press this down. In some years past, I have used plastic wrap to keep my hands from getting all greasy, but I'm not really going to worry about that too much right now. If I wanted to be really exacting about this, I could have calculated out the surface area of the pan that it asked for and the surface area of this pan and figure out where I should stop to make sure that I got it exactly the right thickness and all that, but we're not doing that today. So I'm guessing, from experience, like I say, I make these nearly every year. It's about 2/3 of the pan. And if someone wants to do the math and check for me, that is fine. But see how close I am. And like I say, I don't know if you can kind of see what I'm doing here, but I'm sort of dragging it from the thicker parts to the parts that are empty, the thinner parts here. And then just using my hands to press it down. Obviously, if you, like me, have wedding rings, which I should have taken off, it will leave ring impressions in there. Otherwise, it'll just leave finger impressions doing it this way. So you can kind of use your palm to smooth things out at the end. One of the reasons, by the way, that I should have taken my rings off is that my wedding ring is a spin ring. And it always gets gunked up with dough and batter and stuff like that. So, but if I do take it off, then I always leave it sitting over on the windowsill there. And it takes me about 8 or 9 trips to the kitchen to remember that that's what I was supposed to be doing, was getting my wedding ring and putting it back on. So, all right. Let me wash my hands now. Oh, and also for the new viewers here, you will find that I wash my hands way more than is probably absolutely necessary. I mean, obviously, after patting that down, they're all greasy and I want to get them clean, but I will wash them if anything touches my hands. And the reason for that is I used to work in a lab, and it's habit to make sure that nothing is in contact with your hands for very long. So I wash my hands a lot. All right. So let's see. Samuel says, she raised me after my parents tragically passed away in a car accident. Oh my goodness. When I was around 8. Then my other relatives didn't want me around, so they sent me they sent me monk school after 2 years when my aunt got the news, because she was, oh, I see. But she raised him very much as his mom. So that I'm glad that she was there for you, and I'm glad you have such a great relationship with her. That is fantastic. I'm sorry for the tragedy. My own parents passed away in the last few years, so I understand that. And it must have been horrific happening to you when you were that young. But I'm glad that she was there for you and was able to give you that. Also, Solstice Sunflower, thank you for following. I appreciate it. This is fantastic. A lot of new faces here today. Normally, I stream at 6 p.m. every other Wednesday, and I do, well, let me get to this. Let me tell you what I'm doing, and then I'll talk about my show. This is what it looks like right now. Like I say, I used about 2/3 of the pan. It's about, I would say, 1/2 inch thick. And it's just been patted out into sort of a flat sheet right there. What we're going to do is brush this with that egg white. And I'm going to stir up the egg white a little bit before I brush it on. Then we'll use that to put some walnuts on the top, which I'm also going to grab here. All right, so that's what I'm going to be doing while I'm talking. So the usual show here is something I do called Drinking with Dana. And the premise of the show is that I teach you how to make a cocktail. And then I teach you how to make a snack to go with the cocktail. And then, of course, by the time you finish making the snack, the first drink is done. So I teach you how to make a second drink. That is the usual show. This is our special annual charity stream, which I've already mentioned a couple of times. But so we're baking cookies until 6 o'clock tonight, and then I will do a show. As you can see on the little thing in the corner there, that we will be making coquito and eggnog tonight, along with something called Wonton Wonders, which is one of the recipes I used to make every year for just about any party that I was making a spread for. They are really nice. You can make them up in advance, but you'll see that later on. The eggnog is my family's recipe for that, which is a little bit different than usual eggnog in that it's thinner. Most eggnog you get is very thick, and it makes it hard to drink very much of it at a time. This stuff is thin. Depending on what milk you use, it's pretty thin, and in my opinion, it makes it a lot more drinkable. Like, you can take a gulp of this stuff and not, have your throat close up. Well, unless you're allergic to dairy. Anyway, so I will make that tonight. And coquito is often referred to as Puerto Rican eggnog, which is a misnomer because it doesn't actually have any eggs in it. It's a coconut-based drink, and again, we'll see that tonight. So hopefully folks can stick around that long. It's pretty rare that I do a stream during the day, although, like I say, you can find all of the previous shows up on the YouTube page. Do a search for, it's youtube.com/@QueenOfNoPants, and it should be there. There should also be a link there on Twitch. Okay. Oh, people have been talking, and I've been... All right. Repentant Imp has to go back to work now, but we'll be back later. Bye, Repentant Imp. Good to see you. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the donation. Really appreciate that. It's going to a good cause, so thank you. All right. So, brushed egg yolk all over the top of this. I am now going to put nuts on half of this. And the reason I do that is because Lori doesn't like walnuts. These are just walnut pieces. So I am going to basically take them, and I'm going to kind of crush them in my hands even more, because you want pretty small pieces, and even though they say pieces, they're usually a little on the bigger side. But, so yeah, I'm just going to put them on fairly thick. We want good coverage here. So yeah, there are a lot of cookies I just don't make because they have nuts in them, and like I say, Lori doesn't like that. If they're in recognizable nut form, I should say, peanuts are okay, usually. But like this, where you can see they're big chunks of walnuts, she is not a fan. The next recipe I'm going to be doing has almond paste in it. That she's fine with. Let's see, what else am I doing? Walnut crescents she's not a huge fan of, but not because of the nuts. At least I don't think it's because of the nuts. She just doesn't like it very much. And I think, I don't know, like I was saying earlier, my mom always made, the reason I did this is because my mom always used to make dozens of different kinds of cookies, and it's, it's tradition for me, and it's a tradition that people seem to like, so I keep doing it. Um, but there's always one or two that were made, and only one or two people like them. There's one I just don't make anymore because I'm the only one who eats them. It's now that my mom has passed anyway, and they're called Springerle. And this is a German cookie. And if you go to Germany and you get them, they're this sort of soft butter cookie type thing. And they have these special, if you've seen those special rolling pins that roll out and they leave a picture on the cookie, those are Springerle rollers. At least some of them are. So that's how they're normally supposed to be. I didn't know that until my folks went to Germany one time back in, I want to say the 90s, maybe 2000s, and they saw them that way. Because in our family, they were these hard, diamond-shaped, rock-like cookies that you had to dissolve. I mean, if you had good teeth, you could take a nibble on them, but they were diamond-shaped. They were really, really hard, and they had either fennel or anise seed on one side of them, and yeah, they were amazing. My father-in-law actually sponsored back during one of the wars in the Middle East. I think it was the second Desert Storm one. He, being a former Marine himself, sponsored a Marine over in the Middle East. No judgments on military at this point. Everyone has their own opinion. Let's leave that alone. But I was like, okay, kid overseas, for the holidays, deserves some cookies. But the thing is, because that's what basically, my father-in-law asked, like, what do the soldiers over there need these days? Because it's not like it was in his day. And they said, we will take anything, especially food. But homemade cookies are the best thing we can possibly get. The problem is none of them can survive the military mail. They always come over there as a box of crumbs. I was like, well, I think I've got the solution for this. So I made up a batch of these Springerle, which, by the way, you leave sitting out overnight so they dry out before you bake them. That's to give you an idea of these things. And they were the first cookies that survived contact with military mail. However, they did not survive contact with the Marines. I did include a letter saying that if they didn't like the cookies, they could probably use them as tank armor. All right, so that's about half of this. Let me get them in a little bit more. Let's finish this up. But again, my mom and I were the only ones who liked those. My grandmother did too, but she passed away even longer ago. And when my mom finally passed, or not finally, but when she passed away, I stopped making them. She stopped making her fudge because she was it was a really good fudge, but just no one in our family liked fudge, so we stopped making it. I actually have a recipe for it, and I'm actually going to have to make a batch one of these days, maybe next year, because I'm running out of recipes to do on these streams. But the recipe, to give you an idea, it said you include a Hershey's bar of milk chocolate in it, and it says you should get the really big, get a really big bar of the Hershey's chocolate, the 39-cent one. So it's an old recipe. Let's see. All right. So Samuel, I'll answer your question about spice tolerance in a minute. But he says, I would join military, but as a cook. Morning Wind says, I'm very impressed you were able to come up with such a recipe, one that would survive the mail. That was all my mom. That was her recipe from long ago. I still have it here. I just don't make it because, like I say, I'm the only one who eats them. And Samuel says, someday maybe, who knows? Yep, never can tell. Like I say, everyone has their own opinion on the military, especially these days. Military is something that, because, it is a hot button topic, we usually avoid it. My father-in-law was a Marine for many years, and even he had varying opinions on what he did and what he was asked to do and all that. So that's, I don't say it's completely off top. Completely. There are no verboten topics except if you're a transphobe here, but it's one that just be respectful about it. Anyway, this is about the density of walnuts I put on there, and you can see about half and half there. So we are going to take this and put it in the 350 degree oven for 18 to 20 minutes. So put that in, and in the meantime, I'll start cleaning up. Oh, another tip for prospective bakers out there: get yourself one of these lab timers. I should say prospective bakers and people with ADHD like me. These things are incredibly handy. Again, it's another bit of experience from my days working in the lab. It has 4 timers in there. You can pre-program times. Set it up to count up, count down. It's got a clip on the back and a magnet, so you can just clip it to your apron like this and take it with you. Super handy. I use it for all sorts of things, like, I have to start cooking dinner in an hour and I want to, get on my computer, but I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. I will set a timer on here and put it far enough away that I can't just ignore it. But also, it's great for cooking. Cooking, baking, anything. I highly recommend getting one of these. They're getting a little harder to find. Amazon used to have a bunch of really good ones, but lately I haven't seen that many of them. All right, so I'm going to clean up a little bit while that's in the oven. And probably also take a drink of water. By the way, you'll see that you're collecting little drink ticket points there. That is something they do on Twitch, for those unfamiliar with Twitch. You get to redeem those for all sorts of things. If you get enough of them, you can have me make even more drinks. You can have me tell stories. But there's 1 or 2 in there that are kind of for my own health. One is the hydrate button, which makes me take some water. And then the other one is to check my voice, because as you can probably tell, my femme voice comes and goes as I relax and the day goes on. Not that it's that great to begin with, but speaking of that, Morning Wind just redeemed hydrate, so thank you very much. Cheers, everyone. Thank you. All right. And thank you, Samuel, for having me check my voice. This is, again, right now, focusing on it. Yeah, this is about as good as it gets. Sorry. It's the best I can do. So Samuel says, one day in college, I made my friend some special brownies. He got so high, he started rolling the freaking pizza. Nice. I'm up in Washington, in the Seattle area, and pot is actually legal here. So it is one of those things where I'm just like, I'm gonna let the professionals do this, because it's the kind of thing as far as I can tell with baking, you have to kind of experiment with it. Now, there are some cookbooks on how to make pot brownies, pot butter, that kind of thing. As far as I can tell, because like I said, I haven't really gotten into it. Pot brownie, or the secret to all baking with pot is making a good pot butter, where you can control the amount of THC in it, or at least roughly, or not even roughly, how much THC is in there, because otherwise it's very easy to over or underdose folks. All right. I am going to leave the measuring spoons and cups out because I know I'm going to have to use those again. And I'm just going to throw out the rest of this egg yolk because it's been contaminated by the dough. And I'm just realizing that my original plan was I was going to do the butter crunching first, which is the next cookie, because what is caught here? Oh, that doesn't go there. That's why it's caught. Because I wanted to wash the pans for those in between. So let me. Again, longtime viewers of my show know that. When I started this, the point was to show, housewife skills and that kind of thing. And I thought who's ever going to want to watch me clean my house? Well, here you are. Anyway, as I was saying, we will give this a try, and hopefully I'll be able to wash this after. I think the almond lace cookies I should be able to do without a Cuisinart, or I'll just use the small food processor for that. Right. But I do need to leave this so that I can fit the pans in there later on. All right. Let's see. And again, apologies when I go out of frame here. So, Samuel says, I didn't know anything. I just mixed the dough with an ounce of wheat. Well, that is one way to do it, trial and error. I remember. Oh shoot! I'm trying to remember now what the name of the book was. There was it was actually on NPR. They had a woman who had written a cookbook, who's a professional baker and had her own shop and everything. And I think she was up in Colorado when pot was legalized there. And, she's I think she had a friend who had cancer and was taking pot to help with chemo. And so she had taken what she had learned, and once it was fully legalized in Colorado, she was selling pot stuff out of her shop, or opened a pot version of her shop, and then wrote this cookbook based on everything she had learned about that. So very, very interesting. I myself don't partake of it. I don't have any issues with folks who do. I know plenty of people who do. No big deal. Just I don't. Basically, I don't need another potential addiction. Not that pot's addictive or anything. It's that I already have enough vices as it is. I already don't have a memory, so I don't really need to add pot to that. So just a personal choice. No judgments anywhere. Very, very non-judgmental stream here today. It's banned where Samuel is, so it's really expensive. Yeah, I can see that. I have seen all the jokes too that pot shops don't really give the real drug buying or pot buying experience, because you don't have to go to a place and pretend to watch him play Call of Duty for 3 hours. Anyway, so the next cookies we're going to be doing are probably the fanciest ones I make. And yes, the others are still going. We got another 11 minutes before they come out of the oven, so we'll pause the other making when those come out. But these are called Best Butter Crunchen, and they're basically almond paste tarts, and they are one of my favorites. And they're really, this is one of those ones that it's a lot of work to make, but people are going to be impressed by it. So uh, judge that. This is nothing I would make for myself, but it is something I make just about every year for Christmas because people like them so much. All right, and I'm going to be using the big old KitchenAid for this because the Cuisinart is in the wash. So, and oh, okay, that's nothing. All right. Let me get this out here. Let's see. I think I'm going to use the whisk attachment. Actually, no. I'm going to use the dough paddle for this. Sorry, that's the downside to only making things once a year, is that you forget some of the things you use. With a pastry blender, it says. Oh, wait, no, that's to cut the butter and flour together. And then... Oh, actually, I don't think we're going to be using this either. I think I'm going to be doing this all by hand. Because that makes things easier, right? Alright. Like I say, wash my hands a ton here. Alright. I do promise that if you watch the regular show, I am usually a lot more prepared than this. This is a long show with a lot of recipes in it, and there's only so many hours in the day, especially when you're getting the house ready for the holidays, which is something you will actually get to see our Christmas decorations coming up. Actually, I do have to show this one off. So, later, I've got a video for when I want to take like a 10-minute break later on before we start the regular show that shows all of our Christmas decorations. You'll see on the tree some mermaid ornaments on there that are very, they're very sort of lifelike and fairly large, actually. But the same people who make those make a lot of different other ornaments. My wife has one of their fairy ornaments, which is practically pornographic, up in her office. But she got me this one last year, and I forgot about it. It was not with the other ornaments. I didn't get it out until after we'd already decorated the tree and there was no space for it. So I thought folks would appreciate this. So she's sitting in my kitchen now, and she may actually just stay here all year round. I can take the tags off, but sitting by the transplant over there. But all right. So Azure Dragon says, "How long do you plan on streaming today?" I'm planning on. So I started at 1. I'm planning on going till 6, baking cookies. Then at 6, I'm going to do my regular show, which usually goes till about 7:30. If we have bonus drinks, or depending on how talkative I am, it may go longer, may go shorter. We don't really know. So, and by the way, I would very much appreciate it if people were here with me all day, but I completely understand if you have other things to do. So I'll be here. You're welcome to be with me as long as you can. So let's see. Winter Vespers and Morning Wind both love the lady. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Lori, I'm sure, also thanks you, as it was her gift to me. And like I say, normally I do not, well, I guess we haven't really had many new people, but I normally don't push tips or donations. All bits and donations are fantastic. Wait. I just got a welcome to the chat room message. Can folks still hear me? Am I still streaming? Okay. Twipped and Morning Wednesday, I'm still connected. Okay. And Jade. Was it Jade Itgel? Sorry. Yep. Jade Itgel says, yes, still streaming as her first time chat. Thank you for joining us, Jade. I appreciate that. Yes, thank you. She clarifies that it's it. Yes, sorry. I have to take my glasses off to read things up close. And because I'm running this whole stream on a Windows tablet, which is about yay big, which is halfway across the room. So, it as in IT. I see. Thank you, Twipped, for clarifying that. So it's Jade IT Gal. Thank you. Sorry, I was thinking like, the It Girl from back in the 60s, Anyway, like I say, I am not only, busy, but also apparently unstuck in time, which is not unusual for someone with ADHD, really. All right, so let me see how much time we have left, because I've been talking a lot. Okay, we've got 5 minutes before that, so sorry, not this. To get some cooling racks up for that, but then I'm going to try and make the pastry dough for this. Now, again, I want to be clear, I'm not an expert on... I'll figure that out later. I'm not an expert baker, but one thing I do know is you want to keep your... when you're making a crust, you want to keep your butter as cold as possible while you're combining it with the flour. Now, my hands are already warm. There's nothing I can do about that. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out the flour, what I used this cup for before. We need 2 cups of flour. I need to spill more flour all over the countertop. So, and again, this doesn't call for any sieving or anything. It just says 2 cups of flour. I'm going to dump that in. 1 and 2. So the previous recipe called for either butter or margarine, which I know can be a lifesaver for those who have dairy allergies or insensitivities, that kind of thing. This does literally calls for real butter. So unfortunately, that's what we're going to be using. Well, not unfortunately, because I like real butter, but for those who can't have it, it is unfortunate. So... All right. Oh, and I'm going to call out my favorite trivia fact, which is how you can tell which coast your butter came from. For whatever reason, butter from the East Coast is longer and skinnier, and butter from the West Coast is shorter and squatter. So, this butter from the Dairy Gold Creamery up here, actually it's not too far from our house, short, squat. This one clearly from someplace on the East Coast. So, I don't know why they do it. I think it was just how they set it up in the first place. Everyone kind of used the same molds on that coast, and everyone used the same molds on this coast, and then when they joined together, they realized, oh, they're different molds. That's my guess anyway. I haven't actually done the research. I just remember someone saying that somewhere that I believed, and I've been repeating it ever since. So if it's misinformation, let me know. All right. So I got 2 cups of flour in there, and I am going to thinly slice a cup of butter into it. So yes, there's a lot of butter in this. I do that as quick as I can. I should probably cut these smaller, but here, cut the stick of butter lengthwise. You can't really see what I'm doing here. Get things out of my way so you can see. And this, if it ends up that you can't see what I'm doing at any point through the stream, please let me know so I can adjust things so you can actually see. Because as much as it's nice to hang out with folks, if you want to learn the recipes, it's handy for them to be able to see stuff. So again, you want your butter cold. You want to warm it up with your fingers as little as possible. In theory, I should just leave this all on the wrapper and dump it all in at once. But yeah, I can't really cut that down anymore. Now I will say a lot of these are pretty foolproof recipes. I've never had a batch of these that came out too bad. But if you want to do things absolutely right, I know we have at least one aspiring baker out there. That would be one thing to remember for crusts is keep your butter cold as long as possible. Actually, here's a real tip for you. If you need a pie crust recipe, all right. Remind me about that in a second. I hope I could get all that in there before this, but all right. So you're actually going to take a break from that, so I might put that back in the fridge. That is our, excuse me here. That is our cinnamon diamonds there. And I'm going to take a moment grab a rack here, set these on top of it, get the butter away from the hot pan. And I'm going to take just a regular butter knife. All right. Yeah, I'm going to stick this back in the fridge for just a second because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing here. Ideally, next time I open the refrigerator, that doesn't come crashing down on top of me. All right. So, got just a plain old butter knife here. Turn this around. And I'm going to cut these into diamond patterns while it's still warm. Because when it cools, they will harden. So basically, well, first of all, I never get really nice looking diamonds. So I will warn you about that ahead of time. These are going to be manky looking diamonds. But, oh well, they'll still taste good. That's the important bit. And you'll get some kind of smushed in bits where the walnuts get pushed down. Right. I'm also going to just cut a straight line between the walnuts, where the walnuts are and where the walnuts aren't, because again, Lori does not like walnuts. And you can cut these into as large or as small pieces as you like. I tend to make them a little bigger, but again, that's just me. Well, alright, that's not true. I do them in different sizes. And I also, like I say, do not make them into really good diamonds. So, I've done basically diagonal lines through this way. Now I'm going to go and do them the other way. And in theory, that will result in diamonds. Then again, communism worked in theory. No offense to any communists out there, that's just a saying a friend of mine has. Alright. Let's see, just about done on this section. All right, and you can kind of, once you get to a certain point anyway, start one line from where another line began, just do it in the opposite direction. I'm probably not doing a great job of that, but again, doesn't matter. They'll still taste good, and it's the holidays, so people will be forgiving. Also, you're giving them cookies. They have no right to complain. All right. So, mitt here. So here's kind of what that looks like. I'm not sure if you can see the cuts in there real well. Well, these days I'll get a better camera. Let's see. Twipped S is my microphone stereo that sounded like it was behind me. I am everywhere and nowhere. I have no idea what my microphone is. It might be stereo. Morning Wind says they look delicious. Winter Vespers says something, but it's scrolling off. All right, I can set these over on a cooling rack to cool off, and once they are fully cooled, I will grab them. Let's see. So, on the butter discussion, Morning Wood says, that's interesting about the butter. I've seen Irish butter at the supermarket, and it's short and squat also. Irish butter is an entirely different thing. I once knew what the difference was, but I think it's got a higher fat content somehow. I'm not 100% sure on that. But there is a reason for it. Winter Vespers says, I can't recall having seen the West Coast version before, and Morning Wind wonders if it has to do with a traditional way to make it. I don't think so. I don't taste a lot of difference in the flavor of them. I think it's literally just the shape at this point. I do know that like the color has more to do with what the cows were eating that day than anything else. Let's see. Winter Vesper says the East Coast version is just as I've always known butter to be, so I guess it can conform to my experience, or it can confirm from my experience. I can confirm from my. It's going to be a long stream. I mean, literally, but all right. Winter Vespers also says the cookies look yummy. Morning Wind says I am glad that I'm not near that pan, most especially that I'm not near that pan in public. And that she never knew about Irish butter. Yeah, there are a few different kinds of European butter, if I remember right. But I'd have to. Maybe that's a good idea for a show. One of these days, I will do a deep dive on butter and really get into it. But for today, because I mean, one thing that is a really handy thing to be able to make is your own herb butters, and they're trivially easy, but if you try and buy them in stores, they are absurdly expensive for no good reason other than people don't know they can make their own. Well, I guess also that people don't have their own herb gardens like I do. All right, back to the butter crunching. I'm running out of space over here. All right, well, this gets put away for right now. Okay. Cutting up the rest of the butter to put in there. Butter's an interesting topic, and I am far from an expert on it. Again, if Ogre were here, he would be very much knowledgeable about that, but unfortunately he is not. I at one point was talking with Ogre, for those, Ogre Marco is one of the regular viewers of the show and a friend of mine in IRL. who was, as I said earlier, a professional baker. He's a excuse me. He's a nice guy. Really knows what he's talking about. But we were talking at one point about him doing a show on my channel because one of the things I didn't want to do. All right, let me back up a bit. One of the big influences for the show was Greg on How to Drink on YouTube. Though I think he also has a Twitch channel and some other stuff. Oh, by the way, here's the flour and the butter. I'm going to start getting those together. Basically, using my fingers. First, I'm going to put flour all over the butter. But then I'm going to use my fingers to kind of pinch it and knead it until the flour and the butter are as one. Anyway, one of the things I actually have a problem with about Greg and his show is he started out kind of like how I do my show, with getting into drink recipes, doing deep dives on the history of them, and talking about them. And lately he's been doing a lot of oh my gosh, this is a terrible drink, why I'm going to drink it as a stunt or as a dare. I know it's going to be terrible, but I'm going to drink it anyway. And that's one thing I said I wouldn't do on my show, is I want to make drinks that you're going to like. My goal is to show you something that you really want to drink. It's not to make, not to basically be a channel where you watch me make faces because I had to drink something terrible. That's just not interesting to me. It's not, yeah. And all power to Greg. The reason he does it, and he's actually said this a few times, is because that's what brings in the clicks. That's what brings in the followers, and people want to see that. Great. That's I understand. That's his full-time job. This is not my full-time job. Being a homemaker is my full-time job. So I'm. It's not something I have to do to bring in clicks or bits or whatever. However, Ogre had an idea to do a show like that, and I was like, if you want to do it, that's fine. No one who's ever been to the Midwest will be surprised that I was. This came from a discussion about Malort. So, for those who are unfamiliar, Malort is a famously bad liqueur. Like, just horrifically, like, you dare people to drink it. And I think that's literally what it is. It came about as a dare. And it's apparently a rite of passage in the Midwest. I've not found anyone who actually likes it. But apparently it's a tradition there. Maybe there's some old Midwesterners who really like Malort. But everyone I've ever heard talking about it talks about it in just awe and horror. And it is, drinking it is often considered a punishment. So, or, something you do on a dare. So yeah, but there was some talk of that for a while, and I don't think anything ever came of it. If he comes on, we can ask him about it. See if he wants to start doing, dare drinks on the channel. Oh, speaking of other drinks and charity streams and all of that sort of thing, I actually, if you look carefully, you might find another drink, a bonus drink, on a different charity raid stream. Gender Meowster, who is a friend, I've met him once in real life, but does another big trans and non-binary channel. They're non-binary. They do a lot of outreach. They work with an organization, or they're partners with an organization called the Transverse, which some of the folks here know. And that's, the Transverse is actually where I got my start. Anyway, they're doing a big charity raid stream to support a trans or a gender affirming clinic that's basically the only clinic for like 5 counties that gives trans affirming care, and they have a marathon. They have something called a raid train, and what that is that at the end of their show, they raid over to another channel, and at the end of that, they raid over to another, and so on and so forth. Well, one of the other organizations that I do streaming for currently is called All on the Table, and they do tabletop role-playing game and card game, board game, that kind of thing content, mostly tabletop role-playing games. And they are going to do a live play, or well, not, I think it's, I can't remember if it's live or recorded. I think it's live, a session of a game called Monster of the Week. And they, I was like, is there anything I can do for this, this charity? It's a good cause and all that. They were like, well, do you want to make a drink to go with our game? So I did. It is if you tune in, you'll find out what that drink is. And if you aren't able to tune in, I'll probably put it up on my YouTube channel in a week or two. But I'm trying to think. I believe the All on the Table segment is on Saturday starting at noon on the All on the Table RPG channel here on Twitch. And they're doing it. There's at noon, and that I believe my segment is going to go first before that. So, but they might end up putting it in the middle or something. I don't know. But if you want to do that, tune in and see. It's, like I say, it's another charity stream for a good cause. So yeah, and it's, like I say, a bonus drink. It is the closest basically I got sort of the rough sketch of what the game was going to be, and then I made the drink, and I was like, I hope this is going to be close enough to what they're going for. And then I heard more about the game. I was like, yep, that's the one. I got it right. And again, longtime viewers of the show will know, because I pre-recorded it, of course, the first time I recorded it, I did it without the sound on. So, for those who are new here, anytime I record something ahead of time to include in this, I forget to turn the sound on. So, it is tradition at this point. So I had to re-record that one, but hopefully that gave me practice and not familiarity breeding contempt or something, however you call that. And by the way, I am getting close to done here. Still some big chunks of butter in here. But basically the goal is to end up with something that looks a little bit like sand, maybe has a few pebbly bits in it, but there's no big chunks of butter. So if you go through and you feel something and it squishes like butter, then you want to get more flour on that. Also, you want to keep mixing it up from the bottom, because otherwise the flour will all just go to the bottom and it won't get evenly distributed with the butter. Or the butter won't get evenly distributed on it. The general idea of what you're doing here is making sure each particle of flour is coated with butter. And there are a few bits of science on that. One of them is it browns the flour, which gives it more flavor. But also it's what makes the crust. It helps it stick together, and so on. And I know this is very exciting to sit here and watch me flick my hands around in a bowl. Oh no, okay. My battery is running low on my PC, so I am going to have to stop this, which is not great because I have it plugged in right now. Or I should have it plugged in. Hold on just 1 second. Another note about baking: long fingernails while baking is a pain. Mine are pretty short right now, but you will always end up with sugar and flour and butter under your fingernails, which is not real appealing to folks. All right, so that's the problem. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. When Richard says that sounds like fun, glad to hear it. Morning Wind says all on the table is at noon. Oh yes, noon Pacific time. Sorry, I give all my times as Pacific time because that's where I am. Like I say, I'm out here on the West Coast. I want to dry my hands off a little bit more just because I don't want to get excess water in there. So yes, it should be noon Pacific time. And yeah. All right. So I think I've got this mostly done. There are going to be some bigger pieces in there just because I didn't quite finish up. You can kind of see what that looks like. Sort of a beige color now, although I do use unbleached flour. Some bigger pieces, but mostly it's been well distributed there. And we're gonna need this to really incorporate things, so not too much to worry about. All right, so we are going to add an egg and some water now. All right, so I didn't have to worry too much about that, but all right, so 1 egg. And I'm still getting used to breaking eggs on flat surfaces, which you should do, because if you do it on a edge surface, it can drive shards of eggshell into the egg. But that's also how I was raised doing it, so I'm trying to be better because, I don't want too many do as I say and not as I do's. All right, and then I need to add to that 2 tablespoons of cold water. There we go. All right. So grab a fork, mix the water and the egg together. All right, and so we're going to add this to our mixture, and then it says to use a fork to combine this. Oh, someone's calling, probably the drugstore. They love telling me that I have drugs to pick up, and I absolutely do. Should have done that before things this morning, but as those who were here earlier heard, it was a bit of a trial trying to get ingredients for the show this morning. Always do that. Fortunately, this is a clean counter. Yeah, I should have used a bigger bowl, but all right. So what's everyone else up to today while they're watching me bake? Are you working on your own baking? Are you doing Christmas stuff? Are you still at work? I know at least one person was going to stop by after they gave an interview to someone today. I'm not sure if he managed to make it by. but I encourage watching on the clock. Gotta earn the money to donate to Rainbow Railroad. Winter Vesper says she's enjoying being in the kitchen with me. Thank you. I appreciate that. I am so glad you're here, actually. I think the first year I did this, I was afraid that I was going to be spending the whole day just sitting here by myself, talking to myself in case anyone showed up. And you and Morning Wind were there, and it made everything so much better. So I'm always so glad to have you and she and everyone else here with me. Oh, and Ska was there too. That's right. Ska was there the whole time too. I know Ska's been very busy lately. Winter Vespers is also doing her own crafting in an MMO. Oh, which MMO? If you don't mind saying, I used to play WoW quite a bit, and that's actually how I learned I had ADHD, because after I got caught in the PvP ADHD trap that's built into WoW, at least back in the early days, there was a point where I had just started to become a full-time housewife and was taking a month off before I really started my duties, and was doing that so much and so hard that when Lori came in to ask me something or interrupted somehow, I literally growled at her, and she's like, "All right, something's wrong here. You need to go have someone look at this." So I don't want to do this too much before. I don't want to overwork the dough here. So, and you can see there are going to be some. You can't see because I'm too far from the camera. There are some bits of butter still here, and it's not completely been worked in, but that's okay. So we're going to need this a bit. All right. Winter Vespers is playing Final Fantasy. Do the math here. 16. Very nice. I haven't tried any of the Final Fantasy ones. I did play. I played DC Universe Online for a bit, and that one was actually pretty fun. And then I played Knights of the Old Republic. Actually, I might have the order of those reversed. And then I think those are the only MMOs I've really played. How is Final Fantasy 16? I'm presumably good because you're playing it right now. Make sure I got everything off here. All right, so I've got sort of a square of dough here. I'm gonna flip it over, make sure there's flour there. Now, make sure there's flour on here. And yes, I am going to be incorporating more flour as I work this, just because you need a floured surface. But wash my hands again, get all the dough that I just worked on there off. Winter Vesper says the glamour dress-up part of the Final Fantasy is really good, in her opinion. Very nice. I'm very happy for that. And now I'm going to say the sexiest words a woman can say. Tell me about your character. All right, I'm just putting some flour on my rolling pin here, and I'm going to roll this out. It says you're supposed to roll it to a 12 by 15 inch square, which I'm going to do, but it is sticking a bit. And we won't speak of the hair that somehow got wrapped around that, but I got it before it got incorporated into the dough. Twib says, I just had a flashback to Sneakers. Honestly, I think I've seen Sneakers. Not 100% sure that I have. There were a lot of those teen hacker movies in the 80s, well, I guess it'd be 90s, that I just never, I saw some of them, and some of them were just so hilariously bad that at the time I did not have the detachment to appreciate them. So there is Sneakers the one with Angelina Jolie in it? Sneakers is not a teen hacker film. Oh, that's the one with Robert Redford. Okay. Sorry, I was thinking of the one with Angelina Jolie and Matthew Lillard and one of the queerest movies out there. And I think I saw that one, but it was a long time ago, before I even had an inkling of that I was a queer, or anything like that. You go ahead and firm up the corners of this, and then flip it over, and then keep rolling it out. Ooh, no, actually, I'm just gonna leave it as it is for the moment. It's pretty dry, and I think it's because I got interrupted when I was incorporating all that butter. So I'm going to try and get it most of the way rolled out. Then I'll flip it. Twip says the one I'm thinking of is just called Hackers, and that movie is gay AF. Automod said, for a reason. Oh, okay. Allow. Sorry, you got caught in the Automod there. Sneakers is also kind of queer, but like in the opposite way. Okay, not really sure what that, like anti-queer or... Alright. So this is not quite what they're asking for, but because it's not well mixed, I'm going to go ahead. You're supposed to fold it. Yeah, this is what I was worried about. Fold it into thirds. And then you turn it and roll it out again. Now, because I did not lift it up and move it around, it's going to be a little stuck to the cutting board here. Get that out of the way. And my rolling pin is covered in the dough right now. Yeah, it is. I am making a mess of this, and I apologize. Be better than I am. So that is my constant plea for all of you. Be better than I am. All right. I think I heard a cat over there. Yep. Someone's having a mid-afternoon snack. I will not go pick them up because baked goods. Yeah, okay. No one said anything, but I thought they did. All right, so let me put a little more flour on this. On the board here. Okay. And here I was talking about how this was a, hard recipe to mess up, but I'm somehow managing it. All right, let me... Yeah. That's okay. It's going to come out all right. So I have to have the camera at a specific angle to get the top of my head in, but also get the countertop, and that unfortunately means that I only get like a portion of the counter in here. I may have to readjust it, and of course it's different every time. Let's see, kind of hard to explain. Hackers is punk, Sneakers is jazz. Yes, that makes absolutely sense. Yes, it does make sense, Twipt. Thank you. Um, so, yeah. I personally am a fan of old school heist and con movies. Um, I, yeah, Leverage is my favorite TV show, things like that. I will say that one of the few movies that the remake is better than the original is the Ocean's 11 series. The original Ocean's 11 is was unfortunately made under the Hays Code, for those who know what that is, which one of the rules of it was that the bad guys could not profit from their crimes. And so it turns out, even if the bad guys are good guys, they can't profit, and it's just not as good. It's not as satisfying. The new version of it, admittedly, was completely an excuse for the actors just to hang out with their buddies and, call it shooting a film. But it's fun and entertaining to watch. I mention this because, basically hacker films are kind of a modern take on the heist and con genre. So I should catch up on those. I just only so many hours in the day, so many Marvel movies. I will admit the Marvel movies are becoming less and less interesting as time goes on. And by the way, I don't know if you can see this, but the dough is now incorporated. I've basically folded it into thirds a few times. It is now becoming way more elastic and less sort of crumbly at the edges. There's no big chunks of butter left because they've basically formed into layers within this crust. That's one of the things that makes a nice flaky crust. So that's how you get croissants, for example. But you don't want to overwork crust, so let's see. It says to do that 3 times, I believe. Yeah, repeat 2 more times. And we have done that. So I'm going to roll this out actually pretty darn thin. Basically, I've got a 12 by 15 sheet of plastic, for lack of a better term, that I use as a cutting board. I'm going to fill every available space of that with dough, which means I'm pushing flour onto my counter. Nothing new there. But this is normally you like to have kind of a nice thick crust on things. This is one where you don't want to do that because you're working with limited space, and it'll make sense in a minute. So, again, washing hands, get all the flour and dough and butter and goodness off of them. Okay, and I'm going to take a minute while I have my hands clean to try one of these cinnamon diamonds. Let's see. First answer this, which is, Cool Cat Paul, thank you very much for following. Appreciate you being here. Glad to see you. Thank you. Tripped says, anyway, there's a scene in Sneakers where Mary McDonnell is social engineering an engineer at the company that they're trying to break into by seducing him. The "tell me about your character" line fit that scene. Thank you. Okay, that clarifies it. It brings it right back around. Vertigo says, I have to run to a family Zoom call. I'll be back after. Hope to hear about delicious cookies. Thank you very much. Have fun on your family Zoom call, and I'll see you later. All right, Lori, do you want to come out here and try a cookie? I don't know if she can hear me right now. She's on her way. Okay. I was wondering if you want to try a cinnamon diamond.
Sure.
All right. Let me get you a good one here.
I don't look all fancy for your stream.
That's okay. I dressed up because I felt like it. And all right, to get some of these out here, I should use let me use a different.
Yeah. I went to, for all of you playing the home game, I went to PT this afternoon. And then I took a pill after because that was very painful. So I am unedited, which is why I've been hiding in my office.
All right. Here you go. Here's one without nuts, and I will have one with nuts in just a second.
Okay. I couldn't even tell if I was in front of the camera, so.
It's okay. All right. Cheers.
Are we where people can see us?
No. Wait. Oh, the camera's frozen up. That would power surge on the USB port.
Okay.
Okay.
Can people hear us?
Let me set that down.
I hear you. Good. Thank you for saying.
All right. Well, yeah, I was typing something in there. I just realized I could just say it. Let me try something here quick and see if I can get this to work. Let's see. Device.
I'm going to try this cookie because it's warm and in my hand and no one needs to watch me eat it.
Okay.
Really good. They're a little softer usually. These come out a little crunchy. I like it.
Okay. Second here. Okay, yeah, no, my camera is not showing. Oh, yeah, I was using the front camera on here. Let me try something here. Turn that off. And plug this back in. No. Okay. I am going to have to stop the stream and reboot. I'll be right back. Okay.